Welcome to the Everyone's a Critic movie review podcast. I'm your co-host, Bob Zero. With me, as always, is professional film critic Sean Patrick. Visit us at ihatecritics.net, everyone'sacriticpodcast.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Handle is CriticsPod. We're on all your podcatchers, Apple, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, Alexa. And we have a Patreon page at ihatecritics.net/Patreon. And don't forget to click on our merch tab if you want to buy some of our merch. That was a lot faster than normal. This is really going to be a fast episode.
That's what you think.
Yeah. We got no trailers, so I just went, I don't know if there weren't any, but we didn't watch any of them, so we're not going to waste your time now. But I watched a couple movies on my own that I'd already previously seen. The first was, my wife hadn't seen The Joker, and that's out, so we rented that. And I don't know, I'm back to where I was initially. It's not my favorite of the movie of the year, but I put it in the top 5. I mix it in there with those A24 movies and the Black Metal movie. I really liked, for some reason I thought the ending was a little different than I remember it. I thought that they left it off that none of this could have happened, and they could have done that, but he definitely escapes at the end. So, I mean, there's definitely things that...
Or did he?
He did. I mean, if they make a sequel and he didn't, then they just ruined everything at that point. But I love the idea of everybody's awful, but then at the same time, everybody's good. And I like that. And I don't think this movie is, you can take whatever you want out of it, it's trying to appeal to everybody. I think it's more of, it has a specific message that people may or may not be getting. But I definitely think they are going for a specific type of idea. And I thought they really accomplished it well. Still not Midsummer, and maybe it's at the bottom of those A24 movies. It's not Uncut Gems, so yeah, maybe it's number 6. But it's like it belongs in my top 10, and I'm glad I watched it again because I feel better about it. And Josh was happy to know that I've went back to where I was. But again, those A24 movies are fantastic.
Yeah.
And then I watched The Departed for the first time in a long time.
Now tell me about this. How does this come about?
I had to put an elliptical together, or not an elliptical, a treadmill, which I cut off the very tippy top. I hate saying cut off because it's basically a cut, but like the top of my toe got ripped off. Yeah. But I mean, again, it's might as well be a cut, but it's the very tip, and it hurts really bad. Anyway, my son was with me, and he wanted to watch a movie, and I pulled out like 10 movies he got to choose from, and they were all like for me. A couple wrestling DVDs, and then like the Kill Bills and Departed and Pulp Fiction and all rated R movies.
Right.
A couple comedies, and for whatever reason, he picked The Departed because it was about cops and bad guys. And he's really going through it. When he watches a movie, if someone dies, it really bugs him.
Oh, boy.
And, well, everybody dies in The Departed. Yeah. So that was... in fairness, he kind of walked out here and there and came back. At the very end, I'm like, hey, come back. They're all going to die. Come watch. And then we were at Hy-Vee today, and he goes, hey, that's the guy that killed... Oh, not Matt. They didn't know Matt Damon's name, but...
Mark Wahlberg, yeah.
Right. Mark Wahlberg's in all of our grocery stores here in the Midwest. There's little videos and cardboard cutouts of him. But I don't know. It's always been fun to watch. And at the time when I first saw it, I didn't notice Gimme Shelter being an overplayed song in movies. And I certainly didn't think that Dropkick Murphy song was overplayed at the time. It sure is now. But... watching it again, I still like it, but there's a lot of things that was just like, well, I mean, he literally gets in the back of the car after graduation with the biggest mobster in the world, and they can't figure out he's the guy on the inside. And Leo's character is literally getting in the back seat of the internal affairs car. The bad guys can't. I mean, there's so many things that are so painfully obvious that they probably could have figured out. But it still doesn't ruin the movie, but it's just, that's kind of, I think, what keeps it from being like top-notch Scorsese, but it's still fun to watch.
So it's no longer our generation's Scorsese?
I guess the Irishman would have to be, wouldn't it? Because what has he really done that's been phenomenal? I don't really know.
Wow. We're revising the history of Scorsese on this podcast.
Well, I mean, what's the last true Scorsese movie that you love? Goodfellas?
I mean, it's been a while since I've seen The Departed, and I've always enjoyed The Departed, so I don't know.
I do like it still. It's a step above Heat and a step below Goodfellas, if that makes sense. Which I know Heat's not a Scorsese movie, but it's what it kind of wants to be.
There's certainly a much more mainstream quality to The Departed. Because, Leo sort of pretties things up. Matt sort of pretties things up.
Jack likes to chew scenery.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
So does Alec Baldwin and Mark Wahlberg.
Did your son step out of the room during the porno theater scene? Or
he was not in there for that. He left. We started it I started working on it at night, and we didn't finish it, so we only got to pretty early in the movie. I think he was in I think it was the cranberry juice scene where he beat up the guy you can almost not hit. And then when I came back to it, I watched most of the last third by myself, and then from the part where Quinlan falls off the top of the building I'm like, hey, come back in there for this. And he kept running in and out of the room, peeking over the corner, because it intrigues him, but it also frightens him at the same time. He doesn't understand why the good guys have to die, or even the bad guys for that matter. And at that age, how do you know Matt Damon's a bad guy? I mean, it's hard to understand because it's
complex.
Right. Yeah. Although as an adult, it's not complex at all, and there's a lot of holes. Speaking of not complex at all and a lot of holes, I'm assuming Dolittle is...
You want to start there?
Well, I figured with the classic being Bad Boys.
Yeah, I guess. Okay. Prepare yourselves. And I know this is a really hot take, and I'm sure that other people have had this particular hot take, but if you made me choose, I would say that I would rather watch Cats again than ever see Dolittle again. That's the level of terrible that we're going to discuss now with Dolittle. First of all, I think the first mistake here is that, this is a movie that's intended to be a kid's film. It's intended, very much intended for children, because that's the only possible audience that could find any joy in this whatsoever, because there are farts. There's plenty of farts.
Hey, I'm not above a fart joke.
I'm not either, but they've got to be well delivered for an adult. Whereas this is just, there it is. So maybe perhaps if you're going to make a movie that requires a sort of childlike whimsy, I don't think the director of Syriana and the writer of Traffic is the guy to do that. Because I don't think he really quite understands whimsy or really just any type of childlike thing other than, hey, a fart. Hey, this person who's in the 1800s is making modern references and calling people bro. Oh my God, I hate this movie. Dolittle stars Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. John Dolittle. His wife is killed in a shipwreck. He becomes a recluse and closes up his practice as a veterinarian, / actual human doctor as well, because not well explained. The Queen has given him this place to live, this castle where he was talking to animals and treating them, and then his wife died, and then he just sort of retreated in there with a bunch of animals. First, I mean, the thing that's going to strike you immediately, and, it's interesting. I had a similar experience watching A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, because early on, they're making those transitions using the models. And I'm like, that's weird. And I thought, oh, God, this is going to be a train wreck. Then I kind of got it and kind of got where they were going with that. This time, it's not so much about transitions, but there's a transition to try and explain how Dolittle talks to the animals. And this is far less successful, obviously. This is a bad way of doing this. They introduced his ability to talk to animals by introducing him talking to a gorilla, but he's talking as a gorilla, so he's going, ooh, 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 ooh. And they're both back and forth, ooh, 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 until finally it just sort of kind of morphs into them speaking English to each other, but to everybody who's watching them, they're going, ooh, 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 back and forth. And then anytime he talks to another animal, he talks to them in their language. So it just makes Robert Downey Jr. look like a fucking asshole the whole time. He just looks like an idiot. He looks like a complete psychopathic moron. Like, it just looks so dumb. He's like quacking like a duck, or like making clicking noises, talking to a wood insect. Like, it's so stupid. Just have him and the animals talk. Don't bother with the nonsense. Oh, it was it's just like, it's a car crash introduction to you. So you're not like eased into it. It's just, they just car wreck right into this explanation of how he talks to them. And then you have to watch, there's this kid, Tom Stubbins, who's the little boy who becomes his apprentice for reasons. I swear to God, they introduced this character just because Downey Jr. didn't want to be in this movie. Even though he's the lead, he doesn't want to be there. And so they needed the kid to just pick up a few scenes to be the lead, because Downey's just like playing the character as if he just doesn't want to do this at all. Like, his voice, he's just barely above a mumble the entire time. He's doing an incomprehensible accent that sometimes it's Irish, sometimes it's Scottish. It has no basis in reality. And it's just another embarrassing aspect, and he's just barely mumbling it as if just get the line out and I get to go back to my trailer. Just get the line out and I'll go back to my trailer. Oh my God. It's like, it is so awful. He's got this, his character has lost his wife, and so he's racked with grief. He doesn't like to talk to people. He expresses this by seeming as if he doesn't want to be on screen at all. That's how the level of how he expresses. So he's completely this off-putting character who doesn't like not just the people around him, and it's not charming like House, like Dr. House. This is completely just an off-putting human being who doesn't want to be around people and has no charm about it whatsoever. Oh, the whole movie is charmless, except for Jessie Buckley. Jessie Buckley shows up. Jessie Buckley from Wild Rose and Judy, one of my favorite new actresses. She plays the Queen, who's given Dolittle this home, and it uses him as her personal doctor. And she spends the entire movie dying, so we don't get to enjoy her at all. She's just dying, and Doolittle's got to go on this journey on a boat with all of his animal friends to go and retrieve something from a dragon. It's stupid. It's really dumb. The whole thing is really dumb. But all of the animals, so everybody else is talking as if they're in their own time, as if they're in the time of the 18th century, 19th century, whatever this is set, sometime in the 1800s. Everybody's talking. Everybody in that time is speaking in the English accent and the proper English. But the animals, when the animals talk, it's like, hey, bro. Like, hey, bro, what's up, bro? I don't know, bro. What are you doing, bro? Hey, man. Like they're talking like they're millennials. Like they're making There's almost to the point where they're making modern references when they're talking. And it is so stupid. They sound like such complete morons. Like at one point, somebody made a reference to a movie. Like it was a literal line from another movie. And I'm like, what are you how would you eat? You're a duck, and movies don't exist.
Something you probably wouldn't give a shit about if it was an okay movie.
Yeah, if it were better made, maybe I wouldn't mind. But it's
Right.
just that lazy kind of screenwriting where they just didn't even bother
Right.
to try and figure out whether or not these animals had any kind of inner life. Like they just don't care. Like, and that's really the whole movie. Like they had this is a well-known IP once again, and we've got Robert Downey Jr. starring in it. And man, I love Robert Downey Jr. I think most people love Robert Downey Jr. But when you look at the stuff he's done that is outside since Iron Man, other than maybe Zodiac, he has just made shit.
Iron Man.
Was
That
it?
was way before, I think.
I thought that was 2007, and Iron Man was.
I thought it was like 3 and 6 or something like that.
I can't remember
I'm not
exactly,
sure.
but I know
thought
Zodiac was 2007, and then Iron Man, I can't remember when Iron Man was, but the bottom line is that the stuff he's done, aside from being Tony Stark, stuff like The Soloist and The Judge and the Sherlock movies, which I don't hate the Sherlock movies, but they're not great. he's made questionable decisions, a lot of really questionable decisions as an actor, and we've indulged them. We've indulged those decisions a lot because we love him so much. My indulgence was worn out in the first 15 minutes of this fucking movie. He's bad in this movie. He is genuinely bad.
It sounds like they were trying to take it too seriously with fart jokes. I mean, they're trying to explain why he talks to animals. I mean, right, like you said, that just is a mistake from the get-go.
Awful.
Unless you're just going to make it a comedy where people look at him funny.
Yeah, I mean, and nobody comments on it. Everybody just sort of accepts it. It's just so, it's all so clumsy. It's all just so clumsily put together.
Even the cast, you have like these high-level actors, and then you got these middle-of-the-road comedians. I don't know how that dynamic. I mean, it sounds like what the animals say, it talking all modern.
Like,
and
Kumail Nanjiani and John Cena play best friends in the movie. John Cena's a polar bear that has to wear a hat because he's cold.
Funny enough.
They never explain it. It just, he's a polar bear and he's wearing a hat, and you just have to make up the rest in your head. He's wearing a silly hat, too, which wouldn't... Again, it's a modern hat that probably wouldn't exist in the time. Anyway, stupid. And Kumail Nanjiani is a... what's the thing with... an ostrich that Dolittle rides. And he makes all sorts of jokes about... like, I'm almost like references to cars. Like, it's so stupid. And you feel bad... Like, I feel bad listening to Kumail Nanjiani just be Kumail Nanjiani as if this is a modern movie. Like...
Right.
All these great people, there's absolutely no effort to give them anything to say that's the least bit charming.
Well, I think the way you let off was getting the director and writer of Syriana. Not really the right... It's just a bad idea all around.
It's just a terrible idea. Every idea they came up with was bad. Antonio Banderas is in this movie. He's bad. Antonio Banderas, by the way, is 5 years older than Robert Downey Jr. and plays the father of his wife.
I've been noticing that a lot in movies, especially as we go back and watch classics and stuff where it's just the ages are so weird. Well, I think Robert Pattinson once played Reese Witherspoon's son and then played a love interest in another movie. Something like that. I don't know. Yeah. Did you listen to, I'm assuming you didn't, but Robert Downey Jr. on Joe Rogan's podcast? No. It was probably better than this movie.
I would imagine.
And the main reason he did it is because he wanted to work with the guy who did Syriana. And the reason he doesn't want to be Iron Man anymore is so he can do more things. He didn't really do anything when he was Iron Man. I mean, there was a handful of movies, Sherlock and like Tropic Thunder. And
The Judge. And
all was
The
early
Soloist.
on. A lot of that was early on in the Marvel process. As the cast got bigger and bigger, it was harder for him to... he had to be available. Mm-hmm. But even listening to him, you mentioned him not wanting to be on screen. Like, he was talking about while being Iron Man, he's like, do I have to wear the suit? Can't you just put some green dots on me? So that's that's kind of consistent with what you were saying.
Oh, my God. It's so funny. He's not done on being Iron Man, by the way. I don't know if you know this.
Well, as of a week ago, he was not committed to being an Iron Man.
Right, but he's in one more movie.
Oh,
I just happened to see
Black Widow.
I was looking around at his list of movies to see, to talk about other movies that he's been in outside of Tony Stark, and there it was. He's in Black Widow. Thanks, Wikipedia.
Now, is he definitely in it, or is it just? It could be
I don't know.
Literally be a flashback thing. Like, I mean, it could be a lot.
Who knows when Black Widow's even set or what universe it's in? Because she's. Spoiler alert, she's dead.
Right. Although they've opened that up to anything can happen.
I hate Dolittle so much. This movie will be talked about again at the end of the year as the one of the worst, if not the worst movie of 2020. So at least we got it out of the way. We got one out of the way. I'm sure there might be one worse this year, but this is terrible. This is awful in every way. Now, to be in all fairness, I will say this: a 7-year-old who has no concept of how movies are built in a linear fashion that's supposed to have a story all the way through. someone, a 7-year-old who just watches it just for like bright colors and farts might just really enjoy this. So from that perspective, I could see a child who doesn't understand how movies work kind of finding something to enjoy about this.
There's a lot of movies like that for adults, too, though. I mean, even the good ones are borderline just slightly better made versions of bright colors and farts. My kid didn't want to see it, though.
Sandler jokes.
Yeah. Well, I was talking about the Marvel movies. Like, they're good, but they're still bright colors and farts, basically. Or explosions.
And we have a title.
Thank you. And farts. Yeah, but my kids neither one of them cared. They didn't want to see it. Like, we were talking about going the whole family to both movies, not knowing. Again, I could have swore Bad Boys was PG-13, and I was just gonna make them go to this, but neither one of them wanted to. And then when you said it was horrible, my wife started reading. My wife doesn't pay attention to movies at all. She's like, I heard that was really, really bad. And the fact that she knew that means, okay, we're definitely not wasting our time. And this is the person that rented Gemini Man and watched it alone last night. Because I said, no, what are you doing? Otherwise, we'd be talking about that on the podcast as well. Bad Boys for Life.
Bad Boys for Life. The biggest issue with this movie may just be that I watched it immediately after Dolittle. Like, the stench of Dolittle was still on me when I walked in to see Bad Boys, and I probably need to see it again just out of fairness, because I was just so miserable from the Dolittle experience that I kind of dragged that into Bad Boys for Life. So Bad Boys for Life picks up the story of Mike and Marcus, two Miami cops who kill a lot of people on their way to taking down drug dealers. This time, instead of them chasing after the drug dealer is coming after them. Someone from Mike's past has come back and is out to kill him and people who are involved in the case sometime even before the original Bad Boys took place. And so he's basically tried to there's this drug dealer trying to kill him, and by extension everybody around him. So that includes almost killing Marcus, that kind of stuff, and killing judges, and somebody in the main cast is going to die. And from there, this isn't a very good movie either. I mean, and it's not even directed by Michael Bay, but it feels like a Michael Bay movie because it is so much more of the amateur, just swirling camera. Somebody who thinks something looks cool, but it doesn't make any sense. Like eye lines shifting, like it's just so lazy in terms of direction. So you'll have a character standing and supposed to be talking to somebody, but the camera is moving in a way that it makes it seem like they're not talking to that person. So like they're in different scenes almost because it's so like silly and amateurish. And this happens throughout. The editing isn't great. The pace is sloppy and slow and stops dead to do banter and bits, and then back into the movie, and then we get repeated scenes of people doing exposition. Really super clunky dialogue to introduce things to make to help you understand where you are. In case you forgot something from Bad Boys 2, they'll stop down and say, well, remember when this happened?
I hate when sequels do that.
It's so sloppy, and it just to me, it's like I can physically see the dialogue fall from their mouth and go kerplunk on the floor. Like that's how exposition like that feels to me. It's so inorganic. People who know each other don't talk to each other like that. Like, Bob, remember that thing that we were both at, that we both talked about, and we both did? Remember how that went? Let me tell you about that thing you were there for. Right.
And the sad part is they're actually friends, and if you've been watching anything they've been doing interview-wise and press for this, they're really good together. I mean, I shouldn't say they're not The Rock and Kevin Hart, but they're not far from it. I mean, they're pretty entertaining. They seem to like being around each other. Let them be. I mean, again, I'm saying that they got a 76 on Rotten Tomatoes with a 97 audience score. So apparently, for what it is, people like that. I did not get to go see it. I was never I wasn't not a fan. I just never got around to watching the Bad Boys movies. I know people liked them a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of the wrong people love Bad Boys too. That's all I'm gonna say. For all the wrong reasons, they like Bad Boys too.
Oh, they like it because it's bad?
They don't realize it's bad.
Oh. Kind of like the Gerard Butler audience, more or less. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I do know that Will Smith has been very specific about sequels ever since one of the Men in Black, it was Men in Black 2 or 3, he didn't like it all, so now he doesn't, he wanted to make sure the sequel was good. Now, good is Will Smith good. There's a difference between that and, I was going to say Robert Downey Jr. good, but that's not a good example either. He did say Kiss Kiss Bang Bang was the best movie he's ever been in, though,
He's
which
right.
is pretty cool. But yeah.
I don't know.
It's probably fine for what it is.
Yeah, I mean, if you're somebody who already loves and forgives everything about all the flaws of the original Bad Boys and Bad Boys 2, which is legitimately terrible, this is better than Bad Boys 2, which is a very low bar. I gave it back in the day. I used to write for this website called smart-popcorn.com, and I was reading my old Bad Boys 2 review, and I gave it a 2 out of 10.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event for the linear, legitimate, and universally recognized Undisputed Classic.
Bad Boys. The first one.
Doesn't hold up well for somebody who loved it when he was... Yeah, I was, 16 years old when this came out?
Is this 17? Our first Michael Bay classic?
Well, it's the only Michael Bay classic. No.
Armageddon's coming.
Never. Oh, my God.
There's another space rock explosion movie where...
Oh, fuck that. I hate Armageddon so much. Still, to this day. Bad Boys, at the very least, this is the distillation of the chemistry of Martin Lawrence and Will Smith. They are charming enough that the amateur direction doesn't really kill me. Like, they're watching it as an adult and a trained film goer and a film critic now, it's not easy for me to watch this movie because it's filled with that kind of clunky expository dialogue and scenes that are tell don't show and terrible editing, god-awful editing that's just intended to create something that looks cool even if it makes no sense whatsoever. Anytime there's a crowd scene, you can just try and avert your eyes if you know anything about editing or continuity or anything. Just avert your eyes because you're going to be in pain trying to put together where everything is in these scenes. But at the very least, though, these two guys, they come up with jokes that I'm telling you, there's no way any of it was in the script. Like, you can't, there's just no way any of that was in the script. They came up with this stuff on the fly, just the two of them, and that stuff works because they're that smart and that funny. And that's really the only thing I ever enjoy about Bad Boys, which is the story, again, two Miami cops. They end up shooting a lot of people because that's just kind of their thing. Joe Pantoliano plays the quintessential screaming boss. Hey, stop killing everybody, blah, blah, blah. What is this explosion, blah, blah, blah. Give me your badges, blah, 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 that kind of shit.
Then he gets him back to him with the ad and helps
Of course
him
he
out.
does. Of course
got to catch the last guy. Even though the person above him comes down on them, just like every other buddy cop movie. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's hard to... The point of having classics is like something to talk about.
Right.
It's just like, it's for what it is, it's good. I mean, it is what it is. If you want to start comparing it to other buddy cop movies, it's middle of the road at best.
Yeah.
It's... Again, it's all about Martin Lawrence and Will Smith. Without them, it's terrible.
It's better than Freebie and the Bee.
Right. That is true. And I mean, like, I hate putting rules on movies and filmmaking, and I don't mind a little chaos in the direction, but when the scene's not chaotic, but they're making it chaotic anyway, then it doesn't work. I mean, like you're saying, there's a crowd, it doesn't have to be chaos, but for whatever reason, the way he films it and edits it is very chaotic, and it doesn't... the what you're feeling doesn't match what's going on.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, he's always been in, one of his big criticism is his action, the way he films it, and it's not. I don't know. I don't understand why. He must just be success, but I mean, I know he's all critics and any movie buff shits on Michael Bay whenever they get a chance. But I mean, the guy's been very successful, and I don't understand the.
I understand why he's successful. It's very. I mean, it's very simple formula. It's fast paced and stupid, and
you get enough stars with chemistry, and that's all you need.
And I mean, it's no different. I think Fast and Furious is the same kind of movie, but I think it's dumber in a much more special way. Like, it's stupid, but I think it's actually, from a filmmaking standpoint, it's got a better feel to it.
Well, it's slicker.
Yeah,
that in the mission. A lot of the quote unquote good action movie, even the Marvel movies, they're just more. It's better looking. It's just tighter. I don't know. It's. I don't even know how to explain it, but I mean, I don't know. I think I'd take Armageddon over this though. But even that, it's all about the actors more so than the director. It's anything he's done that's been successful is because the actors are somewhat watchable. It's almost despite Michael Bay. Yeah, no, don't get me started on Armageddon. I'm too angry. I get Dolittle levels of angry. I don't understand. I know it's not good, but so it's just I hate it. You're wasting your hate. Oh no, it's just a movie. You don't know. It's so throwaway. You don't know what that experience was like for me. I was angry for days after I saw that movie. Was there something else going on? No. I saw that movie and it was so bad it made me physically angry. I had a visceral reaction to how terrible it is. It's throwaway bad though. I don't know. That movie acted upon me in a way that I felt bad afterwards. You think it was a combination of where you were becoming a critic? Because that would have been, I don't know when you started, but that had to be earlier on. It was like 97. But I mean, I wasn't writing on the internet yet because the internet barely existed. Right. So yeah, I don't know. I hate that movie. I don't hate Bad Boys, but I hate that movie. I hate the main song more than the movie. It's such a... And oh god, I hate, just to go back to Bad Boys for Life for a moment, I just hate how they keep trying to shoehorn the song in there. Like they barely even remix it, do something, but no, it's a stupid song to begin with, and it's only gotten stupider over time. And they keep making it into a thing. They keep everybody does that, Bad Boys, but everybody does that. No, we don't. Nobody references this anymore. It's not cool. It's never been cool. Which one are you talking about? Bad Boys, the song Bad Boys. Well, no, which movie? The third one? I know the first one they do. I'm talking about the third one. They keep bringing it back and doing it like it's a reference that everybody makes these days. And it's like, no. No, that faded from memory back around Bad Boys 2 when you tried to bring it back. Yeah, I saw when they did it in the trailer, the whole trailer for Bad Boys for Life was very cringeworthy. Yeah. And it feels like the movie went a little bit better than that. But yeah, why shoehorn that song? And what they did in the first one is probably still too much, but at least it was enough that it was... At least at the time it made sense, because Cops was a big thing at the time, and that song was a big deal at the time. Well, it was also on the tail end of Cops being a big deal. Right, but that song was still a big deal. It was still relevant enough. It was relevant enough at the time. It's not anymore. No. And I almost want to just I want to okay Boomer on it's not funny anymore, Will. Even though he's 5 years older than me. Is that it? Is there anything more to say about Bad Boys? We said more than I thought we would. I mean, basically, when I got done watching, I was like, okay, that's fine. I mean, it doesn't deserve much more than that. Let's move on to 1990. That seems more fun. Yeah, I think so, too. Where do you want to start?
Let me start with Everybody Wins. This is Nick Nolte and Deborah Winger, and I had a very funny experience with this because I kind of kept nodding off while I was watching it, and I had to go back and watch a scene again and like try and catch up with where I was. This is written by Arthur Miller, the legendary playwright. This is the first screenplay he'd written in 29 years. The last one he'd written was The Misfits for Maryland. And so why he chose to come back with this, nobody really knows. This is a very strange movie. Nick Nolte is a private investigator or a lawyer. Deborah Winger approaches him to try and help out a guy who's on death row who didn't kill anybody. He's been wrongfully found guilty, and she's brought him in to try and get him out. So I think he's a lawyer, but I'm not sure. And this is, there's more. I'll get to what I'm getting to because other critics wrote about this in the same newspaper, and it's absolutely hysterical the different takes they had on what was happening. But so Nick Nolte is going through the process of trying to get this kid out. Deborah Winger knows who did it, but she keeps not telling him and figuring out ways to not tell him about it because she's scared of the guy who actually committed the murder. Well, whoever that might be, because there's multiple people who it might be. It might be Will Patton. It might be this the district attorney character. It might be the judge character. Her personality shifts a lot during the movie, and he keeps figuring out what's going on with her and kind of getting inside of her head, and he's also kind of falling in love with her. It's weird. Just everything that happens is weird, and it ends on a note. I'm not going to spoil it too much, but it ends on a note of ambiguity. Like, they get what they want. Everybody gets what they want, but it's all the bad people still get away. So it's kind of weird like that.
Well, that's the name of the movie.
Right. Everybody wins. Right. Exactly. So I was doing some research. I read Rita Kempley and Desson Howe's reviews from 1990 in the Washington Post. And the descriptions of the plot that they had in the same newspaper the same day in 1990, one of them has Deborah Winger's character as a prostitute and Nick Nolte's character as a private investigator. Then the other one has Deborah Winger's character as a schizophrenic and Nick Nolte as a lawyer. And they're describing the plot in completely different ways.
Wow.
The movie isn't very good overall because it is that level of weird and confusing how they get to where they get to.
Yeah, looking at Rotten Tomatoes, the critics and the audience hate it. Philip Kemp says, as any gambler knows, the trouble with everybody winning is that you end up with a pretty unsatisfactory payout. David Newsell, he said, Arthur Miller's surprisingly incoherent screenplay is certainly a key element in the film's downfall. So yeah, it sounds like it's not very good. You watched that this week?
I did.
Wow.
I watched a lot of stuff this week. I also watched Streets.
Oh, what the hell, Streets?
Streets is Christina Applegate playing a sex worker, and a teenage sex worker. She's 16 years old. And there are two movies happening in Streets. There's one movie where she's having this relationship. She's a teenage sex worker, and she's having this relationship with this teenage boy who ran away from home for a weekend, who's trying to go to Hollywood to be a musician, but he can always go home. She has grown up on the streets her entire life and is addicted to heroin and gives hand jobs for money. That's her thing. And this kid just quickly, almost immediately begins falling in love with her. But there's another aspect to this. The other aspect of this is Maniac Cop. So there's a Maniac Cop character. The first thing we see is him try to rape and murder Christina Applegate, but she gets away almost by accident. You see the kid, and they're under the pier in Malibu, and the kid the runaway kid is sleeping. And you think, oh, he's going to interrupt this and save her. No, she saves herself and has to save him as well. This maniac cop starts shooting at him. So then you find out he's a cop in this kind of kooky reveal. And he starts stalking them, like going around town, like stalking where they are. And he just starts straight up murdering anybody who knows her. So every scene you see him in, he murders somebody brutally. Meanwhile, in the other scenes between them, it's this heartwarming teenage melodrama about this struggling prostitute and the boy who falls in love with her, and then maniac cop.
Wow. Any good?
I mean, it's only 82 minutes. It breezes by, and I can't say I didn't enjoy it. I can't say I didn't enjoy it. I can't say it's good, but I watched the whole thing, and it's breezy. And, I mean, the two elements balance each other out in a weird way. The maniac cop stuff, which is, like, brutal fucking violence, like horror movie level gore. At one point, he's got this magic gun that he made. It's just his own creation. And he shoots this John that she's with, and his head explodes. And they get a good shot, too, of this giant hole in this guy's head. Like, they spent a lot of money on that for just, like, this 30 seconds that you see, maybe less than that, 15 seconds maybe, just this giant gaping hole in this guy's head.
Wow. Well, you didn't have to pay for Christina Applegate at the time because she wasn't Christina Applegate yet. I'm looking at the plot keywords on IMDb, and the second phrase is putting a gun in a man's butt. That
does happen.
And
that does happen, yes.
And then I clicked on it to see what other movies have this key phrase, and nothing popped up but this.
There's a lot of talk about. There's a lot of butt stuff in this too. The cop has First off, he's trying initially to anally rape Christina Applegate. That happens, which leads to this wonderful line that she gives. She's about to walk away from the kid and leave him behind forever early on in the movie. And she says to him, "Watch your ass. L.A. is full of people who want to stick something up it."
Christina Applegate
She says that. That's a line in this movie. And then later on, we actually do see the cop, before he murders... Actually, he murders a guy, one of her friends, by... First, he puts the gun up his ass, and then he stabs him in the ass. It's a crazy movie.
I mean, yeah.
It's free on YouTube and on our Facebook page.
Facebook page. I mean, if it were good, we would have heard about this movie before because Christina Applegate played a teenage prostitute, and whenever that's
near
a good
nude
movie.
Scene.
Near scene.
Very near nude scene in this.
Probably the closest she's ever gotten. That and Married with Children, maybe. Where do you want to go next? We got Tremors and Brain Dead.
Let's go to Tremors because I want to talk more about Brain Dead.
All right.
Tremors, Tremors is what it is. If you like Tremors, you know that it's about graboids, these worm-like things that come up out of the ground and suck people down and eat them. And they can't climb rocks. You spend a lot of time on rocks making jokes and trying to come up with clever ways to blow up the worm-like things.
Yeah, I mean, it's effective for what it's going for. You totally buy into the idea.
It was this was a different Kevin Bacon for me at the time. Like, Kevin Bacon, I thought he was really cool, and here he's playing like a really dumb redneck, and it was kind of incongruous for me for what I thought Kevin Bacon was at the time.
Yeah, I remember not liking it at first. Like, I had a friend who just thought this was the best movie ever, and that's all he wanted to watch all the time. And at one point, he left it at my house for a long time, so we didn't have to watch it, and it was nice. But when I revisited it later on, it was like, this is kind of fun. I get it.
Yeah.
It's just the 15 million sequels and television shows off of it that were kind of pointless.
It's weird, though, like... I'm reminding myself now, I'm watching it back in 1990, and like at the time, Kevin Bacon, he's done movies like He Said, She Said, and She's Having My Baby, movies where he's wearing a suit and he's a yuppie, and then here he's this redneck, and then you got Michael Gross, who is the dad from Family Ties, and now he's this survivalist redneck with all the guns, and him and Reba McEntire. It was weird. It was a weird movie then, and it's still kind of weird for me now.
And the guy who survived all of them and kept making the sequels, what, Fred Ward? Is that the other one?
He only made one sequel, actually.
Oh.
Michael Gross goes on to make like
Oh, it
5
was Michael
more. He
Gross
becomes
that
the
did it.
star of the series, and even the television version. Like there's 6 of these movies and a TV series.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Did you watch them all?
No, God no.
Well, I guess Michael Gross needed something to do. But yeah, anytime I see Fred Ward in a movie, it's the guy from Tremors. I mean, that's kind of what I know him as. Brain Dead.
Brain Dead. What a fascinating movie! This is the Streets was produced by a member of the Corman family, and this movie is also one's produced by Roger Corman. So we've got a lot of Corman in this week. This is a story of Bill Pullman as a brain scientist who is approached by Bill Paxton as a corporate guy to perform brain surgery on a guy who's holding on to some corporate secret in his head after he's gone insane and killed his family. And they want Bill Pullman to perform surgery on him to try and get him to go back to normal so he'll admit what this mathematic code is. Or the whole thing is just happening inside of crazy Bill Pullman's head, and he's the one being operated on.
Well, I think at the very end they get rid of the or. But they definitely show you both versions.
They do. This is a strange movie, and I kind of liked it. I kind of fell for it. I kind of was in, like, I liked how confusing and confounding it was, and what's real and what's not, and the various times he wakes up from dreams in different places, not sure who anyone is. I was kind of impressed with the weird sort of twists and turns of this movie, and I liked the gorier aspect of it. The brain stuff was really kind of fun, and there's a Reanimator reference in this movie that's kind of deep cut but kind of awesome. And I liked Bill Pullman as this weird character. He's a very strange, very nerdy character, very inside of himself, not very charismatic, but also kind of just odd enough to where you just kind of look at him a little bit. He's just kind of odd.
Right, and he gets more and more odd as the movie goes on, especially when, I don't know, it's hard to explain. It's a hard movie to talk about in terms of explaining what the movie's about.
Yeah.
But it is, like, the whole time I go, when this is made in 1990, it looks, I mean, they reference Reanimator. It looks like it came out when Reanimator came out.
Yeah, looks like an early to mid-'80s.
And so there's a level of cheese that's cool about it. I mean, Bill Paxton's cheesing it up more than he ever has before, and he's always cheesed it up.
Oh, man, so much sleaze.
Oh,
just
it's
so sleazy.
and it's so entertaining.
Yes.
But at the same time, I would love to see like a David Lynch or who's the other guy, David Cronenberg, some kind of one of them making this movie seriously. I would like to see both versions of it because it I was worried it was going to do like a high tension thing where it just cheats, but it's so confusing that I don't know if it cheats or not. I mean, at the very end, it tells you everything that happens, but at the same time, you're still kind of like, you're kind of waiting, you're looking back like, I think they do a really good job of making it all make sense, or, making it work, I guess is a better word. It doesn't make sense at all, but it does work, and it's entertaining, and, like, I want to see 2 or 3 different versions of this movie. Because it's neat. It's neat. It's fun. I don't know. I was kind of shocked. Just the whole time going, how was this made in 1990? It looked worse than, like, every movie they've been in up to this point. But at the same time, it works for the movie. I don't know.
Yeah. Wait, could they not properly reattach the top of the head? Is that why it's like 3 inches tall after he does brain surgery? I mean, it's a cool visual.
I think it was more that.
It was a neat visual, and I loved Bud Cort just sitting in a chair, just fidgeting, and his brain is exposed, and nobody is doing anything about it. Like, can you put the guy's top of his head back on before you let him stand up?
Yeah, I mean, it's free on Amazon right now, I think. I don't know if it was Prime or part of some other, if I was on HBO or Cinemax, whatever it was.
I think it was Prime.
But it's definitely worth watching. It's neat, especially if you live in Illinois and you're one of those potheads. I'm sure you might enjoy a movie like this. With that,
I've enjoyed the it's not like real brain science, obviously, but like they couch it the brain science that they're doing in it in a way that like
feels real.
Yeah, like the idea that you could cut into somebody's brain and cut out the part that's diseased, like that's normal. Like cancer, yes, but like personality wise, like they could locate the part of your personality in your brain that's not working, and like turn him from a guy who thinks that a milkman murdered his wife back into a mathematician who actually was really smart and intelligent.
If they actually did that.
If they actually did that happen? No, but
that's the thing is I really don't know what happened.
But is that also like the theoretical aspect of that is that another extension of his psychosis that he's undergoing?
It's one of those movies that when you really start to dig into it, you just start like a dog chasing its tail. You just want to start spinning in circles. It's the type of movie that would make you go insane, I think.
It is, but it's so low budget, you can't blame it for like being lazy or stupid. Yeah,
I mean, call it what you want, but somehow they made it work, and that's. I don't know.
It's weird. It has a weird tension to it. The production design is so spare and different that you can only focus on the brain. Like they're in this bright white room, and you can only focus on the guy whose brain is out there. And then any other room that they're in is just it's all very tensely shot because they're covering up all the flaws with darkness. But at the same time, it also focuses your mind on how weird and off-putting everything is.
Yeah, I mean. I don't know. I'm glad this movie exists. I'm glad I saw it. It's pretty cool. I haven't seen a ton of Roger Corman movies. I've seen a few, but part of what he's known for is really low budget and somewhat bad movies.
It's weird that the visual for this movie is just a face,
right?
And it has nothing to do with the movie.
Like right off the bat, they kind of show that.
Yeah,
you see it, but then
he's like toying with a brain, and it's making the face.
Right, it's like he hooks up a different brain to his face, but then they leave that pretty early on.
Never comes up again.
It's the cover of the movie, and then it's the first 5 minutes, and then gone. I don't know.
How did you do this? Why did you do this?
I'm kind of surprised I've never heard of this.
Yeah.
One, it's Bill Paxton and Pullman in the same movie. I didn't even know that existed. And then two, that it's just such a crazy movie
I kept waiting for the reveal that was somebody we knew's face. Like, I kept waiting for that to be...
I kept waiting for it to be Bill Pullman's face.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I thought that was going to be his face. Like, they were going to turn that... Like, he was going to end up being the face. And no, he never comes up again.
No, but go give it a shot because it's a fun movie. It breezes right along, and it's. I mean, if you liked anything either one of those guys have done, especially the cheesier stuff, this takes the cake, and it's at the same time crazy and interesting. It's worth the free Amazon.
It's not a movie that's easy to watch in a hotel lobby. Because I was watching this in a hotel lobby this morning.
On your phone? Or?
No, on my laptop, my Chromebook. And I just every time I had to look around, and I had to have another tab open on Chrome just to click that, just in case somebody walked by.
It is. Yeah. It's a weird movie, especially if you have you probably had headphones on, but if you didn't, that'd be even harder. But yeah, please, everyone
will go. There's some awkward conversations in this movie.
Yes.
They don't waste time. This is only 84 minutes too. They don't waste any breath on pleasantries. It's all about talking about brains and dead people and crazy guys running up to doctors who's carrying a brain like, that's my brain. Give me back my brain.
But this is one remake I'm all for.
Yeah, totally.
Cronenberg or Lynch or someone like that, Darren Aronofsky, whatever. If someone wants to try this and take it seriously, because we got the cheesy fun one. I'd like to see the real one because it could be a terrifying movie on top of that if you went weird enough.
# remake Brain Dead. That's the new episode title.
Yeah. Bright colors and farts or the hashtag for the
Jeff,
Streets movie.
Make us a t-shirt, please. Remake Brain Dead. But make it your face.
Now, he's probably seen this movie.
I know it. I know he has.
Oh, man. That's too many titles this episode. I guess that is our show. Next week, we've got The Gentleman and the Turning. It's kind of scary. I thought The Turning was going to be good. Comes out in January.
Yeah. Not the first movie named The Turning. I don't know if I told you about that.
No, you haven't. What's the other one?
All right. So occasionally adults watch pornography, folks. And if you do, you might have come across a movie called The Turning, which is about a scientist who comes up with a way to turn all women into lesbians.
The doctor has to be a lesbian female then, okay.
Yeah.
Because if it was a male, then they really messed up.
And then it becomes a zombie movie. So they're zombie lesbians. Because if you you get touched by the lesbian in a way, you end up a lesbian yourself. You get turned.
So they treat lesbians like zombies.
Yes. Oh, don't judge me.
I'm not.
No, not you. The listeners. Sometimes people watch pornography, okay?
That's funny. Oh, man. So, yeah, The Gentleman and the Turning.
I'm not going to be able to think of anything else while I'm watching this movie.
The sequel to The Turning porno is The Gentleman. But because The Gentleman's Guy Ritchie movie, we're going to watch Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. Probably his first classic on our show, maybe the last.
Yeah.
Maybe Snatch will come back, I don't know. Did you like this one that much, though, either? Lock, Stock, or?
Barely remember it.
Right. But I know there's an audience for it. We got nothing in 1990, so since we didn't talk about Cinema Paradiso this week, we're going to do it next week, because...
either that or it'll turn into our version of Jimmy Kimmel and Matt Damon. The Cinema Paradiso will join us the next week.
Remember when Fishing with Gandhi was that?
Oh, I miss
that we
Fishing
actually
with
watched
Gandhi.
it. We went like a solid year where we mentioned it a lot and then never watched it until a long time later. But that is our show. I do want to thank our Patreon supporters at the key grip level. We've got Charlie Messing and Jason Bryant at the character or the craft service level. Zach Codemaker at the character actor level. Josh and Beth Paul, Christina Cato, and Cousin Jeff. And then at the special effects level, Sarah Morrell or Corey Finneran, formerly Sarah Morrell. Well, it used to be. She was a Josh Adams friend. But no, anybody who's ever been a supporter, thank you very much for doing it. I understand that you can't do it all the time, and it's not. But we do appreciate it, and it is the best way to help support the podcast. I Hate Critics on Patreon. Please go there. And the podcast merch tab as well. We got some new shirts coming. I just can't seem to get a free moment in my life.
If you ever question Bob's commitment, he's actually wearing the shirt of our podcast right now.
That's all I wear is podcast shirts. Let's go to Flickchart.
Sure.
Somehow we did get to an hour. God damn it, keeps going to Flickr.com.
Flickr.
Gotta finish typing it in. We'll just go to my battery dies. It looks like it's going to die any second. Die Hard 2, Rocky 2.
Ooh, that's tough. That is tough, honestly. I like Die Hard 2 a lot.
I'm not a big Die Hard 2 fan, so I'll go Rocky 2. Flip it.
All right.
I mean, Rocky 2 is not my favorite either, but...
Tails.
Oh, Rocky 2 wins. Last King of Scotland, Gross Point Blank.
Gross Point Blank.
Just let you have it. Eye in the Sky, How to Train Your Dragon.
Eye in the Sky.
I'll go with How to Train Your Dragon.
Tails.
How to Train Your Dragon wins. Mimic, 97, Ocean's 12.
Ocean's 12. I think Mimic sucks.
Is that Del Toro, or is that...
I don't remember.
I haven't seen Mimic since the year it came out, probably. Horrible Bosses, The Expendables.
Horrible Bosses.
Agreed. I forgot to click it, though. I was like, flip? Are we going to flip? That was one of the movies I suggested my son we could watch, and he didn't pick it. Although we did play 20 Questions later on at a restaurant, and he got Kill Bill right without having seen it. 101 Dalmatians, Glenn Close version, The Italian Job, their remake, or 2003. That is a remake, right?
Yeah, Italian Job, I guess.
Last King of Scotland, I know what you did last summer. I still know what you did last summer.
Last King of Scotland.
Up in the Air, Jumanji, 95.
Up in the Air.
Star Trek The Motion Picture or Wreck-It Ralph?
Wreck-It Ralph.
Hairspray, 2007, Face Off.
There's a thing, like, I have a genuine enjoyment of the Hairspray remake. I think it's actually a genuinely good movie. But Face Off is just so damn Face Off. I mean, what do you do in this situation?
Yeah, that's the hard one.
Why don't you pick?
Why don't you just flip? Because I'm neither here nor there in either one of them.
Tails.
Oh, Face Off wins. It's hard to flip a coin with a microphone in your face, isn't it?
True.
That's why I gave it to you. City of Angels, Ghost Rider. Nicolas Cage versus Nicolas Cage.
For me, it's City of Angels just because I love watching Meg Ryan get hit by a bus. I'm kidding. Still City of Angels.
Swordfish, Platoon.
Platoon. No, wait. Yeah, Platoon.
Good, because I already clicked it. Let's see here. Clear and Present Danger, American History X.
Clear and Present Danger.
I'll go American History X.
Heads.
Finally, you threw a head. Wreck-It Ralph, Spider-Man 2, the Raimi version.
Spider-Man 2. I love Wreck-It Ralph, but Spider-Man 2 is amazing. And Spider-Man's my favorite superhero.
Cool. Drive, 2011, American Pie 2.
Drive.
Yeah. Rocky, Flash Gordon.
Rocky.
Resident Evil Apocalypse, The Fox and the Hound.
Fox and the Hound.
Thunderball, Liar Liar.
Liar Liar.
Bingo, Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
What's Bingo?
The dog movie from 91. We'll have to get to it now. Yeah, it's Close Encounters. Yeah. We know that. Turner and Hooch, 2003's Hulk.
Turner and Hooch, I guess.
Sure. Not worth flipping over.
Nah, not really.
Wall-E, The Birdcage.
Wall-E.
Agreed. Crash, 04, Trading Places.
Trading Places.
For a second, I thought it was the porno Crash. Who directed that one, the NC-17 one? Was that Cronenberg?
I think it's Cronenberg, yeah.
The Soloist, iRobot.
iRobot.
Beetlejuice, The Day After Tomorrow.
Beetlejuice.
Beethoven, the other dog movie. Or Orange County.
Orange County.
Daylight, 1 Hour Photo.
1 Hour Photo.
Agreed. Gravity, Ratatouille. It's a tough one.
That is tough. Man, I don't know. I love Gravity. I think Gravity's amazing. But I would, if you ask me right now to watch one, I'm watching Ratatouille.
That's hard. I think I'd watch Gravity. That was also one of the movies my son departed over. What is it? Heads or tails?
Heads.
Gravity wins. Deliverance. I've never seen that. Teen Wolf.
Well, pick something you've seen.
Oh, but you could choose. The Naked Gun, 2.5, The Smell of Fear, or Teen Wolf.
Naked Gun. I think Teen Wolf's terribly overrated.
I don't really have an opinion on Teen Wolf, so I'll go with you. Jurassic World, Spartacus.
Spartacus.
Yeah. Venom, Ted.
Ted.
Yep. The Birdcage, The Sixth Sense.
Sixth Sense.
Master and Commander, The Incredibles.
Master and Commander.
I'll pick The Incredibles.
Tails.
Good, because I accidentally clicked Incredibles.